Across the globe, the conversation is even changing more in families because of the high cost of living. You know, we have different couples who come to us and complain that the income they earn doesn't take them home, doesn't achieve all they have to do, and they spend more time at work, which leads to them neglecting their intimacy, neglecting their connection, neglecting their families. And because of this, many of the couples we talk with, they are realizing that the topic of money is becoming to drive a wedge in between them. But personally speaking, we don't think that the problem is actually the money, because money is neither good nor bad. Money takes on the character of the person who is holding it. So if you're a good person, you will use money to achieve good purposes. If you're an evil person, you probably use it not to things that are not so good. So, to look at the topic of financial intimacy, how can couples, with the pressure coming from outside, how can you ensure that this pressure doesn't drive you apart, doesn't create a disconnect, rather leveraging on this to build financial intimacy?
And this is why we have decided to start this series. It will be a 30-day series. So hang in there. We've got some very juicy topics coming. Today we'll just be considering the importance of having financial conversations.
Absolutely.
But before we dive into that, what is financial intimacy?
I was going to say that. So there are different ways people look at financial intimacy. All right. So one of the ways we look at financial intimacy is now creating that emotionally safe environment to have deep and meaningful conversations about money.
That's right.
So for example, I have this amount of money as a debt, credit card debt. These are my financial anxieties. I'm concerned that I may not be able to earn to be able to sustain my family. I'm concerned that as a family we may struggle in the future. I'm concerned that I may end up you just have different anxieties. These are my goals, my financial goals.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, having this kind of conversation to be able to forge ahead as a family, as a unit, financially speaking. And that's our goal. That's how we define financial intimacy.
Awesome.
Yeah. So the question will be, if this is your definition, so what can we do? What can people do to ignite financial conversations such as this? Because this is something that most people are not comfortable with. Because they have to go to a certain place. They have to be vulnerable to have this kind of conversation.
I like that you said they're not comfortable to have these conversations. So what I would first say is they need to start having these conversations.
Absolutely.
As uncomfortable as it is, you need to start having these conversations. You give an example there where you talked about someone in debt.
Yes.
Now, for somebody like that, say for instance, a spouse has gone on to invest some money and it's gone bust. It's not gone as planned. It would be even more burdensome for this person to come back to talk about it.
Yes.
But you have to talk about it. If we don't talk about these things, they create even bigger problems in the marriage. So a person like this may be sitting. What this person may want to do is observe the timing, observe the mood of your spouse. Those things we used to do then when we were younger, where we would watch our parents to know when we can broach some topics. That's what we should be doing with our spouses. Wet the ground. Why is that? Just to absorb the shock, to reduce the shock effect on this person. If you've blown a huge sum of money, it will come as a shock to the other, especially for someone who has the money personality of security, someone whose attitude to money is security. The person wants to know the money is there. So we need to have these conversations, no matter how difficult they are. Then we need to set goals. And in talking about this, I think we would then ask you to stay tuned to see us on the next one, episode 2, when we'll be talking about goal setting. You want to say something before we leave?
Yes, that's why we say, if you are that partner, one way not to do this is not to say we need to talk. That sets off alarms in most people's heads. So don't say to your partner, like, I come to you now, we need to talk. That sets off alarm. Serious. So find, just like what she recommended, follow that pattern and it's going to be good. The other thing we would like to say is that, so if you are that partner that your spouse has come to you to try to be vulnerable, this is not the time to shame them. This
Oh,
is not the
yes.
time to shut them
Yes.
down.
Yes.
This is not the
Brilliant.
time to use something they've done in the past to rehash and to make them feel worse.
Yes.
What you're doing is that you are punishing them for doing the right thing. You want to create, when people come to you in a vulnerable state, you want to receive them in the spirit which they came. You want to build that into a culture.
Yes.
You want to build transparency into your culture, because you can't talk about financial intimacy without talking about vulnerability and transparency.
That's right. We remain Chidi and Victor Akunna, and we've come to you under the platform of Foundation for Family Affairs. And our mission is simple: to connect hearts and raise healthy families.
Absolutely.
See you in the next one.
See you.